All right, Gulf Coast independent wrestling fans, we're continuing our fabulous Friday night with the Front Row Fanatics.
Aren't we lame?
Antics? Nah, no, we're not lame. There'll be people watching this, and we'll get hits on YouTube, so obviously we're not that lame. We just finished covering our review of basically, I'll guesstimate, 8 to 10 promotions in the Gulf Coast area from Mississippi to lower Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. Now we're just going to talk about whatever the hell we feel like talking about or who we feel like talking about. Mr. Internet has a story he wants to get off his chest, so let it rip, Big Daddy.
I made Austin Idol pay me $20 for a bag of fucking ice.
Sweet!
I was working, this is probably what, 13 years ago? I was working downtown Pensacola. I'm not going to say the name of the place, but we had at our disposal probably about 3 or 4 tons of ice, and there had been a bad storm, and Pensacola was without power for a couple of days, and Austin Idol used to come in this place all the time, and I had a friend of mine who had just started watching wrestling, and he saw him one day. He goes, "Wow, that dude looks like Hulk Hogan," and I was like, "Who?" He pointed him out. I was like, "Yeah, it's Austin Idol, Las Vegas, Nevada, Las Vegas Leg Lock." He goes, "I'm gonna go get his autograph," and I was like, "Why?" But he went up to him, and
I'd have got his autograph, though. I like Austin Idol.
well, he went up, and Austin Idol was just a total dick, because I said he's shopping, dude,
Right.
But Austin wanted him to pay $20 for an autograph, and he was like, "Yeah, forget you." So anyway, fast forward, the storm came, no power. We worked in the processing area of this place, and there was a knock at the door, and there was Austin Idol, and usually he would talk normal, but for some reason he went into total promo mode. And, "Hey man, I'm looking for a hookup on some ice, man. Can you hook Austin Idol up with some ice?" And I was like, "Nope." Boom, and I closed the door on him. He knocked again, opened it up, and I was like, $20. And he's like, "Hey man, I ain't paying no $20 for no bag of ice." And I said, I had to do a thing from Caddyshack. "Oh, then you ain't got no ice." And I closed the door. And my buddy Rick was there, and finally, probably about 20 minutes later, he knocked at the door, and I saw he had $20 in his hand. He goes, "I better get a big fucking bag of ice for this." I said, "We'll hook you up." And we did. We got him, like a huge bag of ice. And I went to the door, and I said, he held the $20 out. I said, $20 for me, $20 for him. And he, in so many words, he told us to go fuck ourselves, so we got $10 each for giving him a bag of ice. That's more funny than Luke showing me his ball bag.
I hear you. Hey, speaking of showing ball bags, were you at ECW's last house show in Pensacola when the Sandman showed his ball bags out there?
Actually, Painlord was sitting in front of me, and I didn't know who he was at the time.
Right.
And nobody there was doing the traditional ECW chants, like when the FBI came out. I started a "Where's My Pizza" chant.
Right.
He actually wrote a write-up on it on lordsofpain.net and mentioned that. And it's just weird, years later we were doing Front Row and Painlord was involved, and I was like, "You were at that ECW show."
Yeah, and Sandman's drunk and showing his package over there.
"This is my big cane. This is my little cane." Yeah. That was one of the best house shows. Just to see, ECW was underground. It was like a cult thing.
I hear you.
To see it, it was off the chain.
I hear you. And gotta love the Sandman, You talk about a guy that's got over way big with like little to no fucking wrestling ability.
Yeah.
He
poured a beer in my mouth that night. He stood up right with me and my brother-in-law at the time, and
I hope he still had his pants on when he was pulling the beer.
Yeah, he did. He didn't do that until he got in the ring. But I'll tell you a funny story on an indie show. I think it was Robert Gibson was running shows at the fairground, and there was a manager. I can't remember who he managed, but he was called Seymour Cash. Do you remember him?
Yes, I watched him at Dirty South and Bruton a few times.
Okay, well, he was there, and they had this section of fans called the Heel Men, and they always rooted for the heels. And for whatever reason, a tradition got started to throw in your beer on Seymour Cash. The people got in trouble for it, but they didn't give a shit. They just, every time he came out, so the Heel Men brought this box, and it was gift wrapped with a bow and everything, and when he came out, they gave him the box, and he walked off with it, and it was a raincoat inside. And he walked about 5 or 6 steps, and he turned around and looked at him, and that son of a bitch put that raincoat on, and I was like, "Dude, you're fixing to get nailed." And there was nothing but beer and cups hitting that son of a bitch. I was like, wow. That was fun. I thought that was funny.
And it's fun in our little particular neck of the woods here in the Gulf Coast. You can see people like Sika, WWE or WWF Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Hollywood John Tatum, Don Fargo.
From Hell's Hell's Kitchen, New York.
Yeah, Hell's Kitchen, New York. You can see all the Armstrongs. I've met Road Dogg at the Gulf Breeze Walmart, talked to him. Exotic Adrian Street and Miss Linda in the Walmart there. I saw Scott Armstrong at a Navarre Fun Fest, you know, and every one of them were great. They were cool to me to talk to. New Jack, I met him at the XIW there in Pascagoula, and despite the guy that's got the psychotic reputation he had, he was one of the most coolest, mellow guys to talk to out of, you know, name wrestlers that I've met in, you know, my time going to wrestling shows and stuff. So
I met Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He was a dick.
Hacksaw. Shit, he probably couldn't see his dick without them damn Coke bottom glasses of his.
I saw something funny with John Tatum once. He actually ran a show at the fairgrounds. You know, his father owns it.
Right.
A little bit of advice. If you're going to run an indie show with female wrestlers, make sure they're trained, because John Tatum put 2 girls in there, and they just couldn't, I mean, they couldn't tie up, they couldn't bump, and he even came out with a mic and said, either wrestle or take something off.
Did they take something off?
No, they rolled around. It was retarded.
Oh, I'd have thrown him out then. I'd have started throwing shit in the ring, man.
It was stupid, but got any more good stories?
Yeah, well, let me think. Oh, well, I can think of one time I was in Mossy Head, and I don't know if it was CSW, UHPW, HPW, UPW, whatever it's called. It was during one of the phases when they were having a transition and turnover in the roster there at Mossy Head, and I had been busting John Riker's chops about some of his trainees and everything, how I could do better than they could, blah, 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 blah. And it was a show in December, right before Christmas. And I'll never forget this, you know, because I'm there, I'm swilling beer, I'm talking shit like I always do. And Riker made the heel turn. He comes up there right at the end of the show, and he's getting in my face, and okay, I'm yelling at him, blah, 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 and everything, and he slaps me. And I'm like, okay, you know, I had a buzz, I'll go with a little bit. And I get back up in his face, and then he pushed me down in the chairs, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't care how big you are, son of a bitch, I might be drunk and all this shit, but I ain't putting up with this bush. And I get up, and he grabs me, front face lock, he's pounding me on the kidneys and everything, and then he throws me into the ring, you know, after this hardcore match, takes my mask off, and choke slams me in a pile of thumbtacks.
Nice.
You know, and then he's holding me down there and says, well, what do you think about my trainees now? Merry Christmas. You wanted a taste of the biz? There you go. And contrary to what people think, those thumbtacks do hurt. Thank you, John fucking Riker, you know, but that gave me a little taste. And I respect everybody, no matter what promotion you wrestle for, if I've said good things or bad things about you. You get out there, you put your body on the line. I can respect that. And with that being said, I guess we're going to take a break.